Join our Patreon. We have free stuff. Patreon.com/HiNiPod. Especially if you want episodes without ads. We know the ads suck, but we need them anyway. Okay, thanks, bye. We'd like to give a special shout out to the following people for making this episode and the rest of Act 3 possible. Louis, Malaya, Reg, Daniel Athern, Osterkim, Vanna, Finch, Dr. Dan Venning, Sleepless Berry, Court, Rogue Canoe, John and Muna, Sadie, Zay the Great, Elliot Kane, and Trident. Thank you for your support. Maraming salamat. You're listening to Hainai by Motzie Dapul. Episode 54, Hilaga, Part 2. There were discussions around the warming fire that morning of the samples they brought with them from the pit, with signs that deposits of iron and nickel, and more importantly, gold, might present with proper mining. It was, however, a futile endeavor if they could not secure the site, and the deaths that had already occurred were effective deterrents. It was confirmation, however, that there was something of value here, and they could take advantage of it with more resources and a better understanding of the area. The uneasiness was palpable for those still remaining, with one of their party who had stayed at camp the day before, speaking of something watching from the trees. Something that seemed much too big for any one of them to run off, should it come to that. A moose, perhaps, or a bear. It did not bode well, regardless, and the deaths they had already suffered, with no bodies to bear home, did them no favors. In the end, Sauvard agreed to the men's proposal to depart with the dawn, with the last of their hours spent collecting what samples they could, without going too deep, and marking the site for later. With his magic, Sauvard set a spell of protection around the camp, all the while listening to the quiet prayer of their medic, who was, it seemed, a devout Catholic, clutching his crucifix like a lifeline. The party that went to collect samples returned without incident, though they seemed discomfited by the whole ordeal, saying they heard strange noises echoing from below them as they dug out portions of the pit's wall. That night, Sauvard dreamt of pinprick eyes in the woods, and great shapes seen moving over the tops of trees. In the morning, there was blood near the woods, and another man gone, leaving nothing but dragging finger marks in the snow. Sauvard knew, even before confirmation, that it was the man who warned of something watching in the trees. Their trek back was difficult, with snow having piled up on their path, slowing their journey forward. Even fire and heat could do little to speed up the process. The inclement weather was unexpected, for though the conditions were wintry all year round, they had come in what was meant to be the warmest season. They were forced to camp long before their planned stop, and it would be another day before they reached the settlement, where they'd meet their guides. One of their number, a pale young man with light hair, seemed faint as they sat up by the trees to rest, and he was feverish by supper. As the medic tended to this man, Sauvard looked into the woods, sparser than before, but still as vast, the trees growing thicker the further he spied. Even in the dark, he saw the way the shadows of distant animals melted into the unmoving shadows of the trees, and soon enough, his eyes spied a shape too close to human, emerging from behind one of those trees. It came closer, as Sauvard prepared himself for the worst. He soon recognized it by the way the moonlight painted the blood black on his face. Hammond, his eyes flooded with the blood from his wound, pointing over Sauvard's shoulder at something frightful only he could see. Sauvard looked at him for what felt like hours, but he did not go to him, nor look to where Hammond was looking. Only when the medic touched his shoulder, whispering to him grave news, did the vision dissipate. Past the trees, the aurora lit the sky in bright, beautiful lights, and another man, feverish, gasping for air, and convulsing in his bedroll, died in their camp that night. They finally made it to the settlement the next day, the only corpse they could carry home wrapped tight in cloth and rope. They were greeted by the old guide and their young companion, who seemed surprised by their return. The people who lived there seemed afraid to assist them, until the guide explained that they needed cleansing before their people would grant them succor. Sauvard ordered them not to argue, and they were cleansed with a bitter smoke and clean water, with the guide laying a strange talisman of straw on the body that they carted home. The fellow took Sauvard aside as the rest were welcomed into the dining hall, and the young interpreter stood behind him as the older man and the fellow before him sat, face to face. "Tell me what you saw," said the old fellow, and Sauvard spoke of the pit and the fog. He spoke of a man who went mad, wishing to scratch his spasming eye out of his own skull, who disappeared when they were all sleeping, and the man who fell while looking more terrified of something above him. He spoke of the man who saw a great thing in the trees, and the blood he left behind. And slowly, as he watched the fellow's eyes, he spoke of the bloody-eyed ghosts in the trees. "Tell me what you heard," said the old fellow, and Sauvard spoke of the chuffing, chittering sound, like a bird, not quite like a man. He spoke of the many sounds of nature, the whistling of the wind and the rumbling of the earth, of what his companions, long gone, said before they were lost. The old fellow nodded, and finally asked, "Tell me what you dreamt." Sauvard did not answer at first. How could he begin to explain? And how could he trust? And what did the old fellow know? Did they know this would happen to his party? But the old fellow looked him in the eyes with a comforting bluntness, the look of an adult waiting out a child's petulance, and he answered, wishing not to earn the condescension. He spoke of the falling, the shrouding, The fog, the naked, terrifying sensation of being known by something he could not fathom. The old fellow sighed and pulled out a carved pipe to smoke. They offered it to Sauvard, who refused, but they said it would calm his nerves and make it easier to understand what he was to be told. So he accepted it. "Our eyes," said the old fellow, "see much. From a small point, outward, a great encompassing sight. For us, and beasts and birds and fish, we cannot have sight without eyes. But for that which has no eyes, yet still have sight. Imagine sight encompassing, without limits, seeing all, always, everything. Imagine sight without limits, yet the focusing of that sight on a single point. Sunlight through a little glass. Everything distilled into singularity for something that has captured its attention." Sauvard nodded, grateful for the simplicity, yet dreading what was to come. Sight encompassing, focused on a single point, on. Just as sunlight through glass might make a flame, having the focus of sight encompassing is dangerous. It sees you now without eyes. You, rich man of a great city, are in danger. Sauvard pondered the fellow for a moment before asking, "What is it that sees me? What was in that pit, and why did you not tell us before?" The old fellow sighed, smoke escaping the sides of their mouth. "We know what we know, and we do not know what sleeps there. Only that it sleeps, and only that it sees without eyes. We know what our ancestors know, and what stories are told. We know of great beasts, of wolves thrice large, and of horned things far larger than moose, and why we do not venture there for fear of losing our own. We know of power that is not for us, and that others cannot touch without consequence. We know of old leaders who once made pilgrimages to the site, but did not always return. And we know of spirit guides, who once knew all these answers, but none of whom exist in this generation. Less is known now, and I am an elder of my people. We know to stay away, yet I cannot speak of what I do not know. What I do know is that you did not die is a miracle. Do not squander it." The fellow did not say more, and when Sauvard departed, he saw the aurora in the sky, and, remembering what the old fellow said, of sight without eyes, he felt something stir in his heart. Apprehension, but not quite fear. Not yet. Sauvard sold the site to an associate, knowing it was a money sink on top of everything else. But the samples they brought back were compelling indeed, and at least he would get something out of this whole affair. He was irritable, tired, and focused on his work upon his return, inspired in a desperate frenzy to up his timetable on a much more accessible power source. At one time, he received word that their excursion's medic had seen to the only body they were able to return home, and kept the straw talisman the mortician meant to throw away. There was news of an outbreak of fevers among those that attended his wake and eventual funeral, until the medic replaced the talisman on his grave. He asked to see Sauvard, meant to speak to him of what he had seen, of Caring and his eye, and the horrors of the north. Sauvard turned him away at the door. He did not give credence to the medic's baleful look before he departed. He worked underground on his machine, ignoring reports of a strange phenomenon of northern lights seen above Toronto, far too south for such a thing, and in a time of year that did not suit them. He took drugs to rid himself of dreams of encompassing sight, of falling in fog, of blood-soaked eyes and Caring's steady gaze, and his strange smile, not his own. Alone, deep under the stone, Sauvard toiled. He survived. He was home. There was nothing to... One last time, Sauvard, the fearless, self-assured leader of elders, heard the faint chuffing of a strange bird, or the laughter of something not quite human. And when he looked at his great machine's monumental golden head, tall as 10 men, he saw its eyes fixed on him, just like Caring's, an unblinking, golden gaze, and a pitying smile from gigantic eyes that could not move, and immense lips that could not shape. Borrowed eyes from one without them, whose sight was carried across the sky. Borrowed lips from one whose spittle formed springs and rivers. It looked at him. It saw him. And in that moment, Sauvard, well, he was afraid. I'm okay, really. Just finishing up my chat with the old man. You know how he rambles. But seriously, Laura, thanks for checking in.
That's good.
What is?
Having someone care enough to ask for you.
Oh, yeah, it's nice. Laura's great. I almost forgot. There was something else I wanted to show you. This was something my friend found in the William crypt. The one in the necropolis.
What
I don't know if you know, but there was this crypt under some trees in the necropolis. Someone stumbled on these tunnels that led down, similar to the tunnels to your old machines. We learned Richard Henry was conducting some of his own experiments down there.
A crypt under a tree. Did it read William Sauvard II?
Half of the name was gone. It only said William. But I'm guessing that's where you buried him? I mean, I guess if he died in a fire.
Yes. There was no body to bury, but we had a place for him, nonetheless. He ended as ashes in the wind, but I think he'd have preferred that over being trapped in our family mausoleum. The last thing I could do for him was put his memorial amongst the trees. He so loved to play under them as a child.
So you don't know what's down there?
I never even had an inkling. Well, Richard Henry has been feeding me information about how he adapted my old machines, and I had a handful of them spread throughout Toronto's underground. I suppose he found a new path to access them. He didn't tell me about desecrating my own son's memorial.
Do you recognize these symbols?
It's modified, but unmistakable. A spell to use amassed fear deaths to power a great machine. Just as I had planned long ago, but for new purpose. The benefactor seems to have kept himself busy.
How do you know it's him? Richard Henry
could not have designed this array with such precision, even as skilled and knowledgeable as he was. The only ones who were capable of this were myself, Mary Ann Weeks, and my successor. He always did wish to follow in my footsteps, and now he must be stopped, as I was.
What if you're wrong? What if this is something else? He's not you, past or future.
Are you truly committed to granting that man good faith?
About as much as I am when it comes to you. I don't trust him, but I think there's more to him than you or other elders want me to believe. Let me figure this out first before you do anything stupid, like burning a house down with a child still inside it. You're really good at that. I'm sorry. That was cruel.
But true. And you're right to say it. You're compassionate, yet powerful. Two things that rarely go together in this world of ours. If you wish to extend that compassion to the benefactor, you'd better have a contingency for when, if things go wrong.
I do. I'd still appreciate your help in this, but please, just wait. Maybe we can solve this without further bloodshed, or another elder war.
I truly hope so. But know that should you fail, I will not hesitate.
You're listening to Hainai by Motzie Dapul.
Hey everyone, this is Motzie, creator of Hainai. Hainai is a podcast produced by myself, Yoy Hilaga, and Alyssa Jimenez, and co-created by Reg Helly, and licensed under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 International License. This episode was co-produced by Jesse Goodsell, and written and directed by myself, and I also play the role of Mari Datuin.
The role of Cornelius was played by Ivan Dapul.
If you'd like to chat with other listeners when this episode goes live, we do a live premiere 3 Sundays a month at 9 p.m. EST or Toronto time on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/HaiNaiPod. To help support the production of Hainai, you can subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/HaiNaiPod. You'll get to be part of our early access program, where we release episodes 3 days early on Thursday at 9 p.m. EST or Toronto time. You can also get bonus video, audio, art, and many more. Speaking of Patreon, we'd love to give a shout out to the following patrons for all their amazing support.
Boyo, Nat Dwight, Phoenix Luna, Kate Jordan, Tiana Harvey, Drakukard, Sabine, Sean, Sharon Popinski, Josh the Alchemist, Jess Snow, Maddie Armigio, Talon, Alan Weberman, Nanette Dapul, Mika, Matthew Upton, Anna, Sooks, Becca Terrier, Amelia Brownstein, Diana Cause, Melissa, Emma Heilig, Faye Fungi, Pablo Neurotic, Oster Kim, Evie Smith, Megan, Jesse Goodsell, Malaya Light, and Victoria Goodwin.
If you can't subscribe monthly, you have the option to buy us a milk tea on coffee, ko-fi.com/HaiNaiPod. Supporting us financially is a big part of how we're able to keep going as a show, and supports the writing, editing, directing, voice acting, and all the other hard work that goes into the show. So please consider supporting us financially if you can, and getting ad-free episodes and bonus episodes in the process. Those who support us at the $10 tier and above on Patreon get bonus episodes every month. For more news and updates, you can check out our website, hainaipod.com, or follow us on our socials, on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. Hainai is available on Acast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you enjoy our Act 3 episodes, and as always, thank you, we love you, and hanggang sa muli.